Hello, my name is Hunter Coleman with Xtremery Studios, and I am presenting my final sprint review for Dawn and Dusk. Let's hop into the game, and I think mostly I'm just going to go over kind of how the game is and everything, and I'll kind of go through the tasks as I go. A lot of them are not as straightforward as just saying, okay, this, and this, because they're behind gates. So maybe I'll beat the level, and then I'll go to some of the areas. But you'll see we've added in a lot of our final assets here. We have sound effects, albeit some of them more strange, to indicate what's going on in the game. We do have all the trees and a new landscape, so the game has no lag, at least in my level. I did make all the swords match what's going on again because some things have changed. The gates open when you press R when you have the right number of swords. This gate requires one sword. Press R to close this message. That was a piece of feedback I received a lot, is to have that. Before, there were ways around my level, and this is one of my tasks as well that I'll get to, where you kind of cheat my level, jump over things. So I worked really hard trying to close off everything I could, and I had people on the team. Well, they were nice enough to test this a bunch for me, so hopefully all of that should be fixed. Strange rock, activate platforms for saturation. Activate with R and move quickly to use the platform. Jump up here. Another change, and there's a lot of things here that changed that I didn't have tasks for, that I just kind of noticed as I was going along that I could improve. So this statue used to have the look directly at it. Now it just turns gold if you're near it, and it's way more fluid. As well as these, all of these. So it used to be that you hit one of these, it activated every one of these in level, but you'll see that it only activates the ones that I want now, which allows for better, more variety in puzzles with it. Let's activate it. And we have another effect in here for when the player is double jumping, so the player has more feedback on that. Oh no! Another area where we were able to escape the level that is now completely sealed off is right here. There was, on each side, there was a way you could jump up on top of the level. I'm going to come down here, these out. There are some tasks, like the one where you saw that it pretty naturally hit you, and it times pretty well, and they are pretty smart as enemies. So we go back to the checkpoint, some X. Let's look at some of the tasks real quick here, just to make sure I'm remembering what I'm going over. So I'm showing you some of the cheat areas that were there that I've taken out. I'm going to be going into the castle now, so I'll kind of go over this. I wanted to add random things around the castle. I wanted to add a lord room towards the top of the castle, add in rooms for guards, which I did not. I decided, it's not that I didn't get to it, I decided it didn't make sense with the way the castle was built, and added the ground level actors. Just going over the signs here. This gate opens when you press R, when you have the right number of swords. That one. And then this one lets you know that you press C to crouch, which is important to get in here. And it teaches the player one of the base mechanics, which is the goal of my level. I did add in ground actors and things like that down here. I added in the new stairs. I revamped the entire castle with the new meshes and the new castle colors that we're going with. And let's head on up here. Got that enemy. And there are a few tasks here that relate to those enemies. So I'm just watching the way they move, react to me coming to them. They have blind spots in the back of them. A lot of little things like that I'm pretty happy with on the enemies. And I love the new meshes that we have on them and everything. It looks really good. over here, get this gate real quick. Okay. Oh, get away from us. Okay. So in here is sort of like a secret way into the Lord's room, which is very small and not very like, if I'm being honest. But he does have his bed there. And he has his swords. He's been in the castle. We'll see him later in the game. So from here, this is an area where there were some ability to get there. I don't want to jump and fall down quickly. Well, I guess I should. You can't get up there. It's worth it or not for this demonstration. Let's go over a little bit more while I'm doing this. So you notice I did add in those ground level actors. I did add a Lord's room at the top. I added random things around the castle. And I do want to just kind of go over. So the character animations are there. Obviously it swings swords, it runs, it jumps, all of that stuff. I do have the interaction when opening those gates. As a player, I want to see a castle that looks lived in. I'd like to see horses, stables, beds, and torches. I do not have all of that. I don't know why I marked it as done. As a player, I want to deal damage as the enemies punch me, but have damage canceled if they die before it's applied. As a player, I want to have all signs reflect the expectation. As a player, I want doors to open in a natural way and allow me to predict where they will end up. I removed all. I'll get to that part, so let's not go over that yet. Oh, yeah, I guess I'm just going to run back up to the top. I really wish I had not. I'm not going to demonstrate everything that I blocked up. I'll just kind of go over it, because it can end up being more painful than it's worth. Oh, cool. Here we go. Awful idea. There we go. Back up. Here we go again. Run all the way around. And in this section, which I will not demonstrate, there's a way to jump off back over this way onto that area. So I've rose those walls up and just made sure I can't jump over there. There's no way to do that. So the player comes out here, and we go into a completely new area, which was a real pain. But first, let me show you. I wanted to make sure, I got some feedback that players should be able to know without like walking up and reading a sign which door they should go to. So if you have one sword there, two swords there, three swords there, I kind of labeled those all out, try and make it easy for the player to get some feedback on that. As we come in here, no sign, it tells us to go in. Step in the elevator and press R to activate. I was going to make this a little bit better. Again, not one of my tasks, just I did a lot of things that weren't actually tasks, because I thought it would be cool. You come in, you press R, this thing's real responsive. You know, you press R again, it goes up, down. It flows at a pretty nice pace. Pretty happy with the elevators that I made. Another thing I did is I made these slippery surfaces. So as you're running along, very easy to do. But just an idea I had, because this is all an ice temple. And I created this to remove a section that it was a cool idea. I really liked the idea, but sometimes you got to kill your baby. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to, so I had to do this. But it does bring in one of my tasks, which is remove all hook points from levels and then change terrain to allow platforming challenges. I took down the entire terrain to the ground under that elevator, and you'll see it's a whole new area here. And then I'm adding in platforms and sequencers, and adding in leading lines for players. These ones here are for the AI. Add behavior tree section for reactions to the side of the player. And test for audio perception. Okay, so yeah, most of the remaining tasks here are going to be based around this. So basically, the leading lines ensure the player has direction. They can't go towards their real goal. Uh, but if they look over, they can see this and they can see an elevator. So they know that they came down one elevator, they probably want to go up another. And they see their end goal, they see some stairs. It's kind of, anytime they see one of these, they kind of know that there's something that they need to do. So we step up here. And this is kind of a fun thing that came around because of those sliding things, is that it's kind of hard to stay on the platform. They jump across here, up here. Go ahead and press this thing. Oh no! Ah. There we go. Alright, try it again. There we go. And then you jump off the balcony into here. Okay. And then you're to the elevator. So we run on up. And same situation with the phone before. You don't really need to tell the player again. They understand the concept of the elevators. And then we go back up here with our strange noise. And we go up to the top of here. We're going to go around another area where there was a way out that we fixed. Is if you jump here, jump right over that gate. You can no longer do that. The gate opens. And down here, we also had to remove hook points and add in some different platforming that I think is a halfway decent last challenge. A little easier than it was before, which is probably a good thing because people were struggling too much, and I don't think it was recording enough the way it was. Why am I not jumping on that thing? Apparently, I made the challenge too difficult for myself. There we go. And here we go. Oh man. You know, I think that that's okay. I think it's okay to make mistakes on it. Um, it's part of the tutorial level, and the mistakes, they feel like they're your fault now, which is really good. Before, there were a lot of issues where it felt like the game unfairly cheated you, or like was too difficult to figure out. The mistakes now, they feel like they don't take that long to correct, and you feel like it's your fault you missed, which is what you want. That. Now my final area here. Okay. I'm trying too hard to do it quick. Okay. I have hate that. Okay. This time I'll get it. We'll look over there to start. That way I know where I'm going. The worst video game player I think the world has ever seen. Okay. Okay. Did I make it? I made it! Alright. That's a pretty rewarding moment there. That's good. Want a lot of that. Alright, and this is the end of my level here. Hopefully I kind of was able to show what I did there pretty well. A lot of it was upgrading visually and fixing minor bugs, kind of making sure the AI worked a little bit better than they did before, adding in new meshes for those and creating new animations for both the player and the enemies. Next, I'm going to hand it over to Kion Brown, and thank you so much for watching. I'll make sure you see that this leads into the next level. Excellent. Have a great day.
Hello, my name is Kyle Brown, and today I will be showing off what I did for the milestone. So I am Opening up this build. I already unzipped it. And so, uh, my first task is, as the player, I want my attack to work so I can use it properly. And I'll go to this level to show it off. So it reads, using the using the attack in the air doesn't do anything. After pressing attack in the air, the player can move and turn normally. The attack can be used multiple times in a row, and the attack cannot be used while aiming. So, uh, I can attack normal on the ground if I try to jump. I can't. I'm pressing the left click. If I attack and then jump, I can do it, but if I jump and then try attacking, it doesn't work. After trying to do it in the air, pressing it, I can move normally again and attack normally again. Aim in. The screen doesn't mess up from me attacking,
Thank you.
and it can be used multiple times in a row. Sorry, messed up there. Um, my next is, as the player, I want a level where I can use items in my inventory so I can solve puzzles using them. The first um, the first completion criteria is there's a checkpoint on the left side of the main room. Then there is a checkpoint on the right side of the main room. The color of the spears has been changed to work better with color blindness. Only the text from one side of the big doors can appear at the same time. The player can use only medallions to unlock the big doors. The interactable pillar has visual and sound effects when the player is close enough, and the interactable pillar has a visual and sound effect when used. Old items are removed from the player's inventory after solving the puzzle, and place order materials and objects have been replaced. I get the pouch, the key, and I can unlock the door. So the first checkpoint is here, the checkpoint on the left side of the main room. Here's the checkpoint on the right side of the main room. The next is the color of the spears has been changed to work better with color blindness. So I've changed the color of the spears to hopefully look better for color blindness. Oh, that's the wrong one. I'll collect that, and then if I complete this puzzle over here, I can show off the rest of the spears. So, using this, I can show off the rest. So this is what the yellow looks like now. This is what red looks like. This is what blue looks like. And this is what purple. Oh, sorry. Well, purple is going to be the same color as these pedestals. This is the color that orange is, and this is the color that green is. The next was only the text from one side of the big doors can be shown at one time, or appear at one time. So if I come up to the doors here, right side, left side, right side, left side, only one comes up this now. And only the correct medallions can be used to open them. So I'm trying to use the spear here, left door metal, none of them work. The next is the interactable pillar had visual effects and sound effects when the player is close enough, and it had visual effects and sound effects when used. And then the old items are removed from the player's inventory when solving the puzzle, and placeholders. So this was the interactable pillar here. It had little rocks coming down from it, and it made a sound every single time while the rocks were falling, and then it made the crashing sound once it finished. And I can show once I complete the puzzle, I will have none of the old items from it. So if I come back here and I make the green, the orange, that spirit is removed from my inventory, so I don't have it anymore. All I have is the medals for the doors and the medallions and the main key for the door. And the same thing will happen with these wires. I can no longer pick the wires up, so they won't be in my inventory anymore, but I can pick up the medallions, and I can, oh, wrong way, open up the door with them, and then go to the next level. The next test was another part of that. As the player, I want to know what objects I can use my inventory on, so I can use my items to solve them. So the interactable objects had visual effects when the player was close enough and could use them, and the interactable objects had visual effects and sound effects when I used them. The collectible items, as the player, I want to know what objects are items so I can collect them. They had sparks coming off of them, and they made a kind of dinging sound every single time while the player was near them. So the collectible items had visual effects and sound effects when the player is close enough, and the collectible items had visual effects and sound effects when used. And the next task is, as a player, I want a level where I can use a spirit companion so I can get past destroyed areas. The completion criteria is the spirit pickups have visual and sound effects when the player is close enough. The spirit pickups have visual and sound effects when interacted with. The spirit companion has a visual effect when a spirit pickup is interacted with. There are checkpoints at the beginning of each spirit introduction area. Make the burnable crates in the introduction section are bigger. The burnable crates hitboxes also match the box. The enemies have been moved around to match up with the new level layout. The bottom of the hole in the water area is filled. Freezing the water source gets rid of the other water, and the placeholder materials and objects have been replaced. This is spirit pickup. It had a visual effect that made a sound when it was interacted with, and that sound, that kind of dinging sound was what it does before you pick it up while you're near it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So that's the visual effects and sound effects. Um, and when it's picked up, it made a sound, and the spirit played an animation. These are the burnable crates. They're a lot bigger. And I can destroy this one, but not this one because I'm not touching it with the fire yet. But this also doesn't hit. The hitbox was a lot bigger. Um, but if I do it here, then it starts to destroy it. And here's the checkpoint at the beginning. It did the animation again, and the spirit played sounds before picking it up. The water is frozen. Oh, and there's another checkpoint here at the beginning of this section. It's doing the visual effects, and there's its sound effect. So these pillars only have markings on one side, so I can't hit them back to where they were. And this one, oh, this one does have markings on both sides, so I can hit it back to where it was. that little wind sound was what it does when the player is near it, and it had the visual effect. I picked it up pretty early.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, some of the rocks in the background, their collision messed up. Well, they didn't mess
Thank
up, but
you.
they're pretty big. And so this is the water source. So when I destroy it,
Thank you.
or when I freeze it, and if I go back out, all of the water that was out here is now gone, as well, and in the other areas that water would be gone too. Um, so the bottom of the water area, I forgot to show that off, but I can show that off. So down here, this water is gone, and this area kills you, but you used to be. Oh, okay, that needs to be fixed. But you used to be able to fall through the map there. That has been fixed now, and that is all the tests for this one. Um, the rest are relevant to the enemies. The flying enemies can no longer be hit by hits being near them. Their hitboxes were fixed to because they used to be just like shooting in the general area would be able to kill them, but now I had to actually aim at them and hit them. The enemies make a sound when they're hit. Um, and then they had the little smoke that happens. The player has sound and visual effect when they get hurt, as you saw, the, with all the screaming and stuff. The melee enemies uh, have to attack to deal damage. I can show that off again. So I will have to replay this area. Sorry. So here are the melee enemies. When they actually swing, that's when I get hit. It used to be they just dealt damage by being near. The player has an animation when they die. I can show that again. And the enemies play an animation when their health hits zero. The birds kind of curl up, and the flying enemies they do this flying back animation. And when I die, I play an animation. And there's a visual effect for when I run out of jumps. There's a sound when I walk, jump, sprint, aim, and interact. Um, and use the spirit ability. So for the spirit ability, it's this little wind sound there. When I double jump, I turn purple. And this is for walking, sprinting, jumping, aiming.
Thank you.
And then there's a sound when I interact with stuff. The next is as the player, I want to have the enemies. I want enemies that react and are dangerous when I use the spirit companion, so I cannot easily defeat them. The flying enemies can see me from farther away. The flying enemies can now be hit by the player attack at all times, and the flying enemies now fly around. So I can freeze this ward over here to show them off. So here they are. They fly off the ground. They can see me from here. They used to be a lot shorter. Um, and I can hit them. Um, it used to be I could only hit them when they were attacking, but as well, they have been changed. So like, since their capsules have been changed, so they can't be like hit in areas that aren't supposed to be hit. Um, the player's sword attack cannot hit them that well since they cannot jump, but they can be hit with the other attacks without needing to attack. The next is as the player, I want the spirit companion to follow me closely so I can use its abilities more often. So the spirit companion moves faster when not in combat and is far enough from the player. The spirit companion moves at a slower speed when close to the player, and the spirit companion can return to idle from farther away. So right now it's in its idle animation. It doesn't have to be that close. Yeah, so it does it like from right here, and when I'm just moving a little bit, it moves pretty slowly. But if I sprint away, it moves a lot faster. This is when I'm just moving a little bit, and this is when I the next task is as the player I want to know what I can use my spirit abilities on so I can use my abilities correctly. The spirit objects have visual effects when the player is close enough and can use them, and they have a visual effect and sound effect when hit by a spirit. So they all the spirit objects glow the color. So the pillars glow green, the boxes glow red, and the water here starts to glow kind of a different type of blue. And the next is for the pillars. They play. I showed this earlier where if I tried hitting it from the other direction, it played a negative sound, and it went to the next location. When I hit it correctly with the earth attack, it would move to where I needed it to be, and then it couldn't be hit back to its original position if the markings were on the or were only on one side. So the ones that only had it on one side, I couldn't hit them back, or I couldn't hit them in that direction because that's not the direction they went. But the last one that I showed off, where I could hit it back to its location it was before, it had the markings on both sides. And next is about the spirit aiming. As the player, I want to see from the spirit's perspective when aiming, so I can see where my attacks will go. The first completion criteria is the camera view moves to the spirit when aiming in. The camera can be rotated around in the spirit. Aimed attacks go in the direction the spirit is looking, and aim attacks no longer touch the player. So the player can't be seen
Thank you.
by the attack, so it got really dark. So it doesn't hit the player. If I shoot here, it'll go that direction.
Thank you.
And if I look this direction, it'll go here. And I can move them around in the spirit.
Thank you.
And yep, that is those. And the next is, as the player, I want to know what happens when I use spirit abilities so I can use them effectively. Um, the normal spirit has visual, all of them now have visual effects. So the normal spirit abilities have visual and sound effects. The primary normal ability, when it hits enemies, they do. All of the enemies and spirits make sounds when they hit. So that works for the fire, the ice. Uh, the ice plays a different sound effect when it hits the water area. The frozen water areas have a darker color. I can show that off again. So it's easier to see that it's frozen. The frozen enemies have a visual effect when they're about to freeze. A visual and sound effect. Hope I fell. Um, there aren't many enemies that have more than one health, so it's hard to show off. But I can show what happens when they freeze again.
Hello, my name is Austin Cordell, and these are my Jira tasks. So I have my tasks here from the depot. We have the latest build here, and it is unzipped right here on my desktop. Let's go ahead and open that up. All right, so let's open this up. For my first task here, as a player, I would like to hear ambient noises and light music within the hub world. Add wind and or animal audio to the hub world, add music to the hub world, and add different audio with the ominous feeling before the final boss door in the hub world. Let's go to level select. Alright, so now, actually, wonder if you can hear that. So we have like a crow chirping in here. There is music, but I actually decided to put that more towards the end with the boss door. So in the main area, there won't be music replaying every single time you enter it, just the animals. As you get closer to certain levels like Steven's, the audio changes more to crickets to match his theme there. Okay. The next one, as a player, I want to access a menu of the controls from within the pause menu. So here, escape, if I go to controls, I have everything here with, some hints, double jump, spacebar twice. Interact R is anything that the player interacts with, so items, NPCs, all that there. Okay, go back. I think the next one's from a menu as well. As a player, I want an organized pause menu that is centered and easy to navigate. So we're going to recenter the pause menu buttons and text. So on this one, all of the buttons were anchored off to the corner so everything would shift over, and that's with all the menus here. So the level select, the credits, of course the volume, resume controls, and then that also included the button location, so they're all centered. Okay, I'm gonna go back here. Alright, next, as a player would like uniformity between all widgets so they stay within a well-defined border and do not overlap within it. So we have readjust all widget background size to be equal, level name and centered text will be smaller, background boxes the background boxes to match the text size, and anchor widgets to bottom center. So that was another issue we had, just like the pause menu, so that's fixed. So running around. Actually, let's talk to the NPC. So you see this text area here is going to be much larger, but the level names are going to be smaller in the smaller box to match the text there, and that goes with all the levels. Alright, as a player I do not want to be able to skip any portions of the puzzles within the hub world. Add walls above final hub world puzzle. So let's see, because I don't have any ability unlocks right now, so I can't actually grab those. Wonder if I could do this. Let's see. And nope, works as intended, so I can't do that. Alright, so the final puzzle of this area was just open and the players can skip it. So going through this rock door here, it actually opens up into another portion of the castle. So you're actually going inside the castle. So it's completely closed off to the outside, so you can no longer skip through anything. Also, there was an issue jumping over doors, so that has since been resolved by turning it into the interior of the castle. Alright, as a player I would like to enter a dark area where I'm required to use a light element to help show the path I need to follow. So we're readjusting post-processing volume for the dark puzzle and adding breadcrumbs to show the player the correct path so they don't get lost. Same concept here. So inside this puzzle area, going forward, the pillars are falling into the direction where the player needs to go. And then at the end, before there was no stairs, now there's stairs, so the player knows that they have to climb up to get to the next area, to jump over, and then jump through the platforms up to the top. Uh, Before, the issue is players don't look up, so they didn't know they actually had to jump up in the air to go over, so that's where those stairs and the pillars falling down onto it came from. That's perfect. As a player, I would like to see if I have finished the puzzle before entering it. When a player finishes the puzzle, add a completion to the level name widget. Remove post-processing volume from dark puzzle when the player reloads the hub world after completion. So yes, so from the hub world, once this area is completed and the player has finished the Ice Lord puzzle and they start moving into this side, this of course is still going to be open, but there's no more post-processing volume, so the player can go in there and see everything with light, so they don't have to worry about using their flashlight and they can take a look at the puzzle. There's also a widget that comes up that says you've already completed this area, hero, and that's coming from the spirit. As a player, I would like to be reminded when to use my new ability within the hub world. Add a new widget trigger box before a new ability is needed within the hub world puzzles. Remove widget trigger box after the ability is used correctly. So, for example, in this puzzle here, there is a firebox that you need to shoot at with the new fire ability. As you walk up, there is a section you need to jump into. There's a widget that pops up there, and it says, hero, you'll need to use your new ability for this. And then, of course, it'll say, switch to the fire spirit and hit E while aiming to destroy the obstacle. And that's for all of these. So the wind slice is mentioned in this one. The earthquake one is mentioned for the big rock. And then the dark puzzle says proceed to use your light on this one. As a player would like to have a visual representation of the element needed to destroy a destructible. Alright, add element icon to destructible, match element icon to the element needed. Alright, so in the top right corner of the screen, you see the spirit icons. So those, you have the normal or the kinetic, fire, ice, earth, and wind. Each one of those are matched. I wonder if, let me see here. Actually, no, it's not going to show it on that one. No, it'll be too far in. But yes, all of the destructibles are now matched and they have an icon. In the spirit tutorial level, there are fire blocks. They are turned, but there is an icon on those. Same thing with the fire box that's in there. And then there's a normal destructible up here and an ice destructible back there. Alright, let's see what's next. As a player, I would like my spirit projectile speed to not be altered by frame rates. I find a way to alter projectile speed so it's not slowed down or sped up by frame rate, and remove projectile from event tick. This one was pretty neat to work with. So we have the normal spirit, Q, that is a projectile now. And as soon as I do this,
Thank you.
I use the fire. This one's not a projectile just due to the nature of it. And then we have
Thank you.
the ice. And then we have the earth. This one we still kept the loop, so it looks like a large projectile flying. So it goes up in the air and then down. It's affected by gravity, so that was pretty cool to work with. And then the wind slice. This one's also a projectile that moves much faster. I just don't have it unlocked, so I can't use it. Okay. As a player, I want to believe I am playing a finished game, so begin adding final assets to the hub world and theme each level to the player, each puzzle to the level the player will be entering. So, as you can see here, this is actually a great example. The manor level, you have your trees, your railings, of course your lampposts, the crickets, and then final assets as in, of course, this landscape we made as a group, and have some low poly grass here. These are the added art assets, all colored in. Same thing with the walls. The pillars have the wood on them. And then, so if you hear the crickets here, once you go into the manor level, you have the same matching audio. So you'll hear the crickets in the background with the animals. And then you have your lamppost there, so it's all themed like that. Alright, so we're going to go back here. As a player, I want to see fire, sparks, and insects within the hub world. Add a small fire within the hub world, add particle effects within the hub world. So just due to the nature of things, I couldn't get insects, but I was able to get the particle effects, fire, audio, just like that, especially before Steven's level here. I think it fits really nicely. As a player, I want to know when I have completed a level by being notified on screen. When a player finishes a level, create a widget that plays upon re-entering the hub world. Create a new widget for each completed spirit upgrade level. So, just like mentioned before, going in front of each of these, there'll be a widget that pops up that tells you you completed a level, and they're all the same. So this one will say, here you've already completed this level. Same thing, here you've already completed it. Same thing with the win, and same thing with the final. As a player, I want to progress through obstacles without being able to skip any parts of the level. Readjust landscape to prevent player from jumping onto advanced sections, and add asset blockers to prevent skipping. So this was built upon the end level. So as I mentioned before, the end level has been fully blocked off. In here, same thing, the player can no longer jump up onto the ceiling. So even using the wind spirit. These have no collision, so the player can't stand up on there either. So that's been all blocked off to prevent the player from skipping onto the last levels. As a player, I want my enemies to chase me once I'm within their range and not stand until I defeat them or exit their range. So adjust nav mesh within the hub world, adjust the amount of enemies in the hub world, use a variety of enemies to prepare for the next level. So that's also been adjusted. Nav meshes for each area, so there are ghosts in this area. As soon as you walk in, they do start attacking you. As you go deeper, there are more. I did add some more on this side as well, just in case the player falls, they'll still be attacked. And then in here you have the goblin enemies. So you have two actually, one down below when you first turn, and then once you climb up, jump down again. And they use the new enemy blueprints, so everything attacks with animations, and they don't just stand there looking at you. Alright, those were my Jira tasks. Thank you for watching.
Hello, my name is Steven Shiposh with Team Xtremery, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what we've been working on. We're going to show you through here. This is our latest build here. We've had to extract it um, using the software here. This is the actual project here. We're going to go and open it up. All right, we have Dawn and Dusk, and we actually have one of my first user stories was as the player, I would like to see the level names on the level screen. Here, you see that right here. Level names on the screen, so I know which level I'm entering. Those names change to the design from the designer to the name of the level. The level names correspond to the actual level itself. We'll load in here, and we'll notice that we have the Trials, Castle Entrance, Courtyard, Disgrace Capital Manor, Glenda Village, Wind Mountain, Ancient Root, and the Overlord Throne. We're gonna go ahead and enter into my level, which is the Manor, and that actually goes into one of my next user stores, which we have. As the player, I would like to hear music as I traverse through the level, and so I can feel more immersed. The music will begin to play at the beginning of the level. The music will continue to play throughout the level. You'll notice the music is actually quite quiet, kind of quiet in the background, which you can kind of hear. But it also goes into my next user story, which we have is the as the player, I would like to hear the wind, crickets, and birds, so I can feel more immersed into the world during the nighttime. We have completion criteria, which is the player can hear wind sounds, the player can hear cricket sounds, and hear the bird sounds. As you can hear, cricket sounds, birds in the background of the video here. I'll talk to this player here. During be dark, press E to use your normal spirit life away. Make your way to the manor. I'm going to start doing that. And before we enter the manor, I'm going to go ahead and jump into one of my other user store, which is the credits. As the player, I would like to see the designers in the credit screen, so I know what the designers are. We have the completion criteria, which is change the say designers and add artists to the designer screen. You can jump in here. We'll pause the game. We'll go into credit screen. At the top here it says designers, and it has each one of the designers of the level. We have also the artists here and their name listed. We'll go ahead and hit back button. We'll go ahead and hit resume. All right. Next item, we're going to go ahead and close the bridge. And we'll talk to this person here in the guardhouse. And the widget down at the bottom here is going to tell you how to use it. All right, and you'll notice that up here at the pouch, that's one of my next user stories is the pouch location and the color of it. It was actually a blue color. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. As a player, I would like the pouch item display to look nicer and use a different colors, so it's easier to read. Which we changed it to just white because white's typically the easiest color to read against dark backgrounds. The text will match the rest of the text on the screen, and move the placement of the pouch was in the top left-hand corner instead of it being on the right side of the screen. All right, we're going to close out of that user story. And also one of my user story was the front gate here. As you could hear, um, you'd like to be able to hear a sound when the gate makes a player makes a sound when it opens up and gives an audio cue that's activated. Players hears the sound when it interacts with the gate. I'm going to close out of that one, as we heard that one already. Okay. All right, and you'll notice that the actual background of each one of the texts are the same as we see here. Find your way through the manor as you see at the very bottom of the screen. Each one of the background texts are the same throughout the entire story, but you'll be able to see that in one of my other ones here. As the player, I would like to see the background of the widget match the text. Completion criteria. The background of the widget is fit to the text. The background has a match color of all the other widgets, and the background that shows up on the HUD of the UI, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. This also brings me into my next widget, my next user story, which is I would like the front door to not have a key so I can enter the manor without using a key. The completion criteria is we remove the front door key, and the front door opens without using the key, which will fall into the next user story is having, as the player would like to hear a sound made when the door opens, so it gives an audio cue that's activated. Sound plays when it interacts with the door, and we'll notice here, door opens, perfect. Interact with this book. Turn around down the basement. Door. And one of my next user stories, we also have the breadcrumbs, which we'll get into a little more later, but you can notice has the blood trails here as well. But we're actually going to park our character right here on this wall because this will lead us into our next user story. Is to actually, if you listen carefully, you'll be able to hear the ghosts in the background as they get closer. Which, as a player, I would like to hear a ghost make a sound so I know when it becomes aggressive. Completion criteria is sound plays when the ghost enters an aggressive state, and the ghost has an ambient sound as it patrols. Right now, you can hear the ghost really quietly in the background as it's patrolling. It's making a real eerie sound. When the ghost becomes engaged, you'll notice that it will have a stronger presence and sound. I'll go ahead and kill it, and then it drops that. Perfect. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and fall into the next one. Is as the player, I would like to see a golden path, so I know which direction to go, so I know how to progress to the level. Add breadcrumbs to the level, and this is the blood, enemies, and bodies. You'll see here that we'll have a body right actually next to a lamp. We added the lamps here.
Thank
Um,
you.
and that pops into. So we have the lamp and the blood that goes on the ground here. Use our fire to get into the library because that's one of our the narrative was also kind of explains the story behind it as well. Kind of gives a clue. I'm like, okay, well, all secrets are in the library, so why not try to find them in the library, which is where we are now. And it's really dark down here. There we go. As you can still see, there's a blood trail that kind of still guides the player to where it needs to go. A little ghost hanging out over here. Okay, so next breadcrumb is we have it in the study here. So let's head in that direction.
Thank you.
Still working on the lag a little bit this level. We have all of our books in here. And see how we entered the study? That's what it said. Where to get there? Okay, so our next floor where we need to go is to the second floor, and he hid the key. But we already know that he hid the key somewhere in here. I got the key. I'm gonna start heading to the basement or to the second floor, actually. And as you see, we still follow the blood paths that are based on the manner that the last breadcrumb told us that we need to be able to go to the second floor, which we're heading to the second floor now. Go through here. And you still see we're still following the blood trails, which is the golden path. These boxes. And we always want to make sure that we keep our flashlights. You also see the color of the lamps up here. They're kind of different than some of the other ones. You'll see them that they're, which is also kind of guiding the player as well. You still hear the ghosts because there's ghosts that are still around that wander. You still hear the crickets when you enter the outside. And slightly because the doors are still open out there. So we're going to keep moving. All right, we'll notice that there's a body here, a lamp, and the lamps are kind of like the breadcrumb. They're kind of like, okay, well, somebody came this way and they didn't make it. So keep following those. Oh, let's jump and see if I make it. Yep, there we go. All right. And we can kind of look, you can see off to the right here, we could go that direction. But if you notice that the bloodstains are actually following this direction, there's actually still enemies going this way as well. Mhm. And there's also the green lanterns that are on the walls here as well. Those are kind of our breadcrumbs. And this is actually going to lead to the next user story, which we have. As a player, would like to use the bookcases to jump over a broken wall to traverse through some of the rooms in the manor. So I can progress using platforming. Add a bookcase so the player can jump on it, move the wall to make an opening, add burnable objects, and block the doorway to prevent the player from moving through. As you can see here, we blocked the doorway so the player can't leave the room through this direction, and he actually has to jump up on the bookcases here. Look at my little spirit buddy. Oh, I forgot to change it. All right, we're gonna move through. Okay, so our next breadcrumb that we have is I think saw Ruth with the access key. So we actually need to go find Ruth or her room. So I made these chandeliers so they were able to be jumped on. so the player could use them as kind of a spot. So we're still working through this lag. Going. All right, and see how we have it up. It says return right here. So we know this is where the next key is going to be at. And you see it right there, sitting right there. I'll read the story. I killed everyone human. I'm in the bedroom. Scared for my life. I climbed to the highest part of the manor to hide the back door key. So our next point is probably going to the roof access to find the back door key so we can escape this place. So as you can see, we'll see in the top left hand corner we have the current item, which is the roof access key.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's get that open. All right, so this is actually going to lead to my next user story. We have, as a player, I would like to see the sonar widget display the read correct input key so I know which input key to press to activate the sonar stone. Completion criteria is change the wording to say the sonar stone widget to read R for the input key. All right, so I will need to activate the stone to climb the tower. Press the R, which is the new key here. Activate. You still see the golden path with the green lanterns on right above the door frames. All right, now we have the back door key. We can go ahead and get out of this place. Okay. Grab our key so we can leave. Okay. So we need to make sure and have our fire spirit activated so we can burn this roof here. All right, you still hear those ghosts? They're still coming after me. You hear those crickets still going in the background. All right, we're gonna lead this into my next user story, which we have is as a player, I'd like to not see any power-ups that are not used, so I cannot pick them up. Remove all the unused power-ups in level, which there was stamina power-ups that we just completely just got rid of, that we weren't using or utilizing at all. All right, we're moving to. All right. And then we're actually going to run into my last user story that I have completed here. As a player, I would like to find a large boss ghost at the end of the level so I can progress to the end. Completion criteria is I have add a boss ghost at the end of the level, and the boss ghost will take up to 3 hits to kill here. You'll notice that the boss has an actual health bar here, and you'll notice when he gets hit the first time, he'll take a third of that bar. He gets that second hit, and I hit him that third time. And that killed the boss there. Perfect. Now we can move on. Almost didn't make it. All right, well, that is the end of my level, the manor. The lag's still there. We're still working on getting rid of that. We're gonna go ahead and progress into the next level, which is back to the hub level, actually. But that is the very end of my level. And here we are back in the hub world. You see this, oh, that's lag here. But that is the end. And thank you so much. This is Steven Shipwatch for the Team Xtremery. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Aaron Carter. I am with Team Xtremery, and this is our final build. Here it is on the depot. It's a zip, which I put and downloaded into my spare folder here. I'm going to open it from here. Let me allow access. So we are going to go right to my level, which is Gelita Village. So the first task that I had, let me close that. First task that I had and wanted to fix was, where is it here? As the player, I want to be able to access only the fire and light ability in the frozen level. So, if you see in the top corner, I only have the light ability and the fire ability available. So if I move down here, my next task is, as the player, I want to be able to know what key to press when I am interacting with the NPC. It used to be E.
Thank you.
It used to be E, but now it's R, so I had to adjust that. The other one that I wanted to do, other than him running off screen, which is something that I didn't know about, as a player, I want to be able to see the angle that works for our player and the NPC to not be looking at the NPC's leg. As you can see, the camera is supposed to be. He's supposed to be standing here. I might have been moving when I clicked it. Here, this is a dangerous land. The inhabitants have gone insane with the endless winter that has been plaguing this land for the Lord. Collect the sword from the bar and church, in the bar, church, and the courtyard, and take them to defeat the Lord. So, unfortunately, he ran off. So if I do this, it worked better. I guess I was holding a button or something before I pressed it. Another thing was, as the player, I want to understand the lore of the land through different signs as well as landmarks. So he kind of tells you a little bit about the lore. So I can leave and I can make my way down here. So as the player, I want to have a portion of the level that teaches me how to use the secondary fire attack. So if I move down here, there's a trigger box before I get into the actual capital city. Here, oh, careful. The lava is broken through the mountain and is blocking the gate. Try using your secondary fire, switch to the fire spirit, and press E to shoot a fireball at the door to be able to jump across. So as I get closer, I can switch to my fire.
Thank
I can
you.
shoot, which will open the door. I can jump across. So this kind of leads into my next area, which is, as the player, I want to feel as though I am in more of a town than just a village with a church, capitol, and bar.
Thank you.
So there's a church right there. There's a bar over in the far corner. There's the castle. There's the courtyard, which I'll get to. But then I added in all these buildings. Most of them you can't really go into. Let the enemies attack. Take them out. There is a health pack here, which points out another story. As the player, I want to have a health pack that I can recognize as a health pack. That's a very uniform picture for health pack, so it helps me. Our sound effects are a little off, so that's something that we're going to have to fix in the future, but that's okay. So hit. In this one, there is a couple guys that I almost took all out. So then you get to the courtyard here. There are two different types of enemies here. If I get close. So the animation did not connect for these guys. So it's something in the future. But one has 3 hits and the other one is quicker. So I collected the sword, which gave us a sound. Another thing that I was having an issue with was lag. So as the player, I would like to play through the game without feeling as though the level is going to be running at a slower pace.
Thank you.
The level is running much smoother now that we've changed some assets around and reorganized our things. And the final thing is going to be, I believe everything else is going to be showing me at the boss level. Oh, here, don't forget you have a close range fire attack and a far away one. Try killing the enemy near the door, then shoot a fireball inside to kill the other enemies and collect the sword. So we'll kill this guy. We'll shoot a fireball in there at him. Oh, I missed. Our aiming was something that we had an issue with, so we tried to edit it around.
Thank you.
There we go. Sword. We'll make our way up here. So then we will go inside. Put the sword. My thing still works. Where you can the table. Patrons attack. Bartender, didn't your mother ever tell you? Tables are for glasses, get them. The patrons of the bar all get up in one fluid motion, turning and attacking the hero. Before we spawned again, but that's alright. So I'm getting kind of low on health, but that's okay, because there's a couple more health packs up here. So we're going to make our way now to the Lord, which is our little platforming area. Which I don't know why the sound effect is hurting me. It might be the way I have that set up. Here, the Lord of the Land is frozen the door behind. Use your fire ability up close to burn it down and seek revenge. You can also use the fire attack to hit it from far. I can pick up health. I can hit that. Oh, there he is. Try to sneak attack this time. So I can hit him. So here he is going to channel his ice attacks at me. And I
Thank
can
you.
hit him
Thank you.
if I can actually aim.
Thank you.
It's easier to do it from range, otherwise you die.
Thank you.
I can take a couple damage here. No, I guess not. So as the player, I want to have a gate so the player cannot just get to the second phase of the boss fight and run out of the
Thank
level.
you.
Before, obviously, the boss was here and these steps were not here. You used to be able to jump up here. You can't do that anymore. Let's see. Let me make sure I did everything. Yep, I think that is it.
Thank you.
So I can go up the steps, can head out the door, and it'll take me back to the capital. Thanks, guys.
Hello, my name is Mason Caspernet, and I will be showing you my final sprint review for our final month of the project for Team Xtremery. As you can see here, here's the change list number for our most recent build submitted. I will open this by showing it in Explorer because it is a zip build, and I have already unzipped it and put it into a folder with the same exact name, just to save a little bit of time. And I will start by going to a, specific level. And I will pull up my Jira task to show you what has been completed as I go. First one I'd like to show you is as the player, I want to be able to pull up how many swords I have collected at any time so that I can easily keep track of the number I have without having to collect another sword. On my completion criteria, I have make a way for the player to be able to see how many swords they have by either pausing the menu or pressing a button. Coming back over here, it's not on the main menu, and then when you press pause and unpause it, 0 swords pops up in the top middle. I'll do it again just to show you. That does get updated as you collect swords. Next task would be, as the player, I want to destroy the normal spirit blocks faster so I do not feel as if I am not interacting with them fast enough. Change normal blocks to 1 hit destroyed by the normal spirit. Right here, I need to go collect the spirit. Excuse me 1 second. These little blocks right here get destroyed, or they used to get destroyed in 2 hits by the normal spirit attack. Now, when I hit them with the spirit, you see they get destroyed in 1 hit. Alright, next one, excuse me. Next one is, as the player, I want to have a more immersive win level that has better props in it so I can feel more immersed in the game. Let me go to the win level real quick. Open up. There we go. Win mountain. We'll go to the completion criteria. Try to make the mountain you climb look more like a mountain by possibly changing the texture. Change the background to have mountains in the distance. Change the music to something that better fits, and add light wind blowing sounds to the background. We'll start with the music and the wind blowing. There is some wind going on there. There is slight music. It's very hard to hear, and it's a little easier to hear once I get to the cave. But we'll continue forward. Excuse me, I keep opening perforce. Change the background to have mountains in the distance. As you can see, there's giant mountains over there. And I'll walk forward to show you that green mountain over there is the one you climb with what looks like to be a boss or a big enemy from the distance. It is now green. It looks a bit more textured, and it makes it seem more climbable. So that would be that one. Next is, as the player, I want to have a ring of fire around me so that I can feel more protected than when standing in a pool of fire. We previously had our fire attack be like a square that dropped on the ground. Now it is a ring around the player, like so. So that completion criteria was change the spirit from dropping a square to a ring around the player. Next up, we have, as the player, I want to have animations for doing things so that I can feel like I'm actually doing those things. Things like walking sounds hear the steps. There they are. Add a sliding animation. I had also add any other things that came up, and there's no like sliding a wall with your hand on there, but there is this little jump thing that goes on while you slide down. Next is, as the player, I want to have a more immersive cave in the wind level so that I can feel more immersed in the game. Change the layout of the cave. I previously had, excuse me, the button to this door was in that room over there, and there was also a key in there. Made the puzzle a little bit harder, but people seem to be having a little bit of trouble with that. So I put the button right next to the door, and I put the key right behind the door. I also, excuse me, I also roofed in the cave so that way people could not jump out as they were doing that. Next completion criteria would, roof in the cave. Sorry. Add lights inside to make it less dark. Previously it was pitch black, and now you can kind of see mostly, and there's certain corners that are a little bit darker, and you can still light the place up with the spirit if you would like to. I keep pressing the wrong things. Next up, we have add things like bats and stalactites to make it seem more cave-like. I didn't add any bats, so I didn't really have any art for it. It's hard to see. There they are. They're on the roof. Those would be my stalactites. A lot of people tend to jump around in my cave really high, so I put them on the roof just to make it look more cave-like, and it doesn't actually do damage, but it would hopefully make them not want to jump up there quite as often. Change the texture of the bridge when going down the cave, make it look like it could not be burned. In a previous part of the video, which I can just restart the level and just go back down the mountain. This is the bridge. It's now kind of like a stone bridge. It was wood at first, and we have some wood crates that can be burned, so I did not want the player to think that they could burn these. I'll go back into the cave. I believe the next one will require me to progress in the level a little bit more. Oh no, it won't. As the player, I want to have the spirit doors have better PFI so that I know what they are doing and the difference between them and the regular doors. Add sounds for its opening. Change the texture to the difference in the doors. I'll show you that with these. Alright, so these spirit doors can be opened by using the spirit attacks on the corresponding buttons with them. And previously they were just all white doors, and the buttons were slightly lit up different colors, as you can see. Now they are different colors doors based on what color you need for them as well. And they also have stripes on them to just make them stand out a little bit more. And to show you the sound for one of them opening, I'll hit this one.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I think I talked over. We'll try another one. I'll be quiet.
Thank you.
Yep. You heard a little ding noise. Alright. Next is, as the player, I want to have the wind level have the least amount of lag in it so I can fully enjoy my experience. Alright, so I will need to progress a little further in the game. There's that key I was talking about. Just to give you a visual and a little bit of backstory on what the lag was coming from, I can go ahead and tell you the first thing it came from was whenever you kill the first part of the boss fight in my level, it spawned a pickup, and while trying to get that pickup, it severely made the game lag out, and it didn't really try to speed itself back up once the lag, or once getting the pickup. Excuse me, I just died. Made my own level and can't even complete it. Try this again. we go.
Thank you.
It's key. Get rid of these again. Open the door. We hit this checkpoint in case I die. I don't believe I'll have, you probably heard the music from the cave earlier, so I don't think I have any more sound things, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn down all the sliders. And try to complete my level the best I can. Just make these jumps. While I am doing this and trying to get to that, I can show a different one. I forgot. I tried to put these in order. As the player, I want to have different puzzles that challenge me in more ways than just jumping frequently, so I do not get too bored while playing. Think of new puzzles to add to mountain climbing, and try to reduce the number of jumps required to the top. I do have less jumps now, to the best I could, without reducing the height of the mountain anymore, because it caused more problems to do that than it was to just reduce the number of jumps. So instead of reducing the total number of jumps, I just reduced the amount of wind jumps that were required, because they were the part that was taking the most time for players. And the puzzles are to burn the crates ahead of them. Later there is to freeze water to gain a little bit of extra height. And right here is one to use the earth ability to move this pillar over. And I'll be able to show you two things right here. One was to reduce the lag. Like I said, once you killed this boss, this pickup spawned. Unfortunately, it does cause them to be able to just progress forward, but it was the only way I could reduce the lag without making it where they spawning anything or making anything disappear seemed to cause a lot of lag issues. I will also show you right here. As the player, I want to have an audio play and have effects when hit by the sword, so that I can tell I'm swinging a sword in a more immersive way. Add audio for the sword attack. Add effects when the sword hits certain things. So I'll need to turn the volume back up. Right here, if you hit this metal door with the sword, it makes a metal ding noise, and the sword also makes a noise when swinging. Alright, turn that back down. And we'll move on to the next task. The health pickups to be consistent. I can show you some health packs on top of the mountain, I believe. And in other levels, all the health packs. I'm trying to think of the fastest way to find a health pack. I think that would be in the first level to show you what they look like. But I would like to continue this level before. That way you know my level is completed and it does go to the next one. Better widget placements. As the player, I want to have better widget placements so that I can always get the correct information I need when I need it. Don't really know how to show that for this video, but I had to resize some of the widgets because some players were missing some and find better placements for them. So like for the cave, for example, in the previous part of the video, people were just skipping straight over one of them by accident and they couldn't find them. So whenever they tried to run back through them, they're triggered by an overlap. So I increased the overall size of them to be even taller and a little bit wider. And I moved them forward because when they were sliding, they were jumping straight over the first one. So now they land directly in the first one, regardless of how fast they slide or how slow or anything like that. They're going to land in that one. And then they stay in it, but as soon as they walk out of it, it disappears. They walk directly into the next widget. And that just makes it easier for them to know any kind of hints they need to complete my level. Next, I will do this one before I go to the health pickups. As the player, I want to have a more immersive manner in the win level so I can feel more immersed in the game. And I will get to the manor. Does not take very long from where I am at. Here's the part about freezing the water to get a little bit of extra height. That combined with the wind spirit makes it where you can reach these parts. Few more jumps here. Try not to die myself. Here's the health pickups. I can go ahead and show you now. Every health pickup in the game looks just like this. So players can collect over them. I'll go to the completion criteria for that real quick. Make sure all the health pickups are consistent, and I can go to another level to show you that as well after I complete this level, and change overlaps so it destroys when touched by the player. Previously, these things were not destroying even when you had full health. They were just solid objects that you could run through. As you saw, you can now go through them. Gonna go over here real quick. This was another part that created a lot of lag, which was once killing the boss, a bridge is supposed to be spawned. The manor. Correct. Add furniture to the house, change texture from rocks to something more fitting of a large house, and change the layout inside. I did things such as add these furniture pieces. The walls now look more like basic walls. They were rocks like the cave was before. And things such as like this room had a water wall blocking it, now it's stairs blocking it. And this room didn't have anything, it was just empty, and then it was that, so now this room also has furniture. And to show you completing the level, this will take me back to the hub world. I believe there's some health pickups this way. Dodge these enemies. Wait, I think I skipped them. Hold on. I know there's something up ahead. Right above me. There they are. As you can see, all health pickups in each level look just like this now. So yes, I believe that is all of my task, and that would complete my video. Thank you for watching, and this has been fun.
Hi, my name is Amber Prue, and I will be reviewing the final build. This is from build 528, which I unzipped here. My level is the Ancient Earth Ruins. I'm going to be going over the tasks, starting with the individual ones here first. First one is, as the player, I want to have high mountains surrounding me so that I do not walk into the void. Over here I've got high mountains surrounding me, which lead all the way all around here. Next task is, as the player, I want to be able to play the game without lag. So before I couldn't walk anywhere without the game lagging, especially entering buildings. As we progress through, I will show that there was no lag at all. Next task is, as the player, I want to see UI that does not overlap with each other. So I'm going to go ahead and go forward. A little bit, show some UI, and you'll notice that there is no more overlapping because I adjusted all the delay times. Before, if I got picked up the item and then ran over here, they would be overlapped. The next task we have is, as the player, I already did that one. As the player, I want to walk in the level without seeing Z fighting. I had a little bit throughout the temple inside. Once we get inside, there won't be any more Z fighting. As the player, I want to have a better pathway in the temple so that I can move around at ease. So I'm going to go through the temple here and show that I did a little bit of a redesign inside. On the bottom, we've got a whole room here. There's a room over here with more easy to get around path. Over here, I made 2 staircases. This one over here leads to where the exit will be. There's just a door up here, so it's blocked off. And then going over here, once we talk to this guy, going over here will lead up to the other
Thank you.
staircase. So the next task is, as the player, I want to only hit the ice targets when I'm standing on the platform so that I feel challenged. So let me get to the ice room.
Thank you. Thank you.
So in the ice room, I originally had it so that I could hit the target from any place, but I want the player to have to stand on the platform. So if I try to hit it when I am not on the platform, it will not work. See, I clearly hit it, but it's still there. But if I go on the platform and try to hit it,
Thank you.
it will work. Next task is, oops. As the player, I want to climb a high tower to get the sword so that I can feel challenged. This is in the wind room. So I'm going to go back here and go to the wind room. So up here I made a high tower. The cutscene will show how tall it goes. Now the purpose of the tower is to use the air or wind ability to challenge the player to get up to the top and collect the sword. The next task is, as the player, I want the UI telling me to use my light ability. Actually, let's go do this. Let me show this one first because we're over here. As the player, I want to have small platforms to land on when climbing the wind tower so that I can feel anxious when climbing. So I have these small platforms that the player has to land on. They are lit up so that the player can see them. I'll only go on a few of them just to show. Oh, can get a little challenging, but it goes all the way to the top. Okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and get down. Next task. As the player, I want the UI telling me when to use my light ability so I can remember to use it. So if we go back here and go to the fire room, I also have one in here. Whenever we go to areas that are dark, including the fire and the wind room, which I just showed, it will tell the player to use their light ability. It's dark, we need light. So it's pretty dark over here. But once we use the light, oops, did not mean to do that. Once we use the light, we can see the tiles on the ground. Next task, as the nope, this one. As the player, I want to make sure I don't jump to the earth reward from the wind room. So before, I had this issue where the player was collecting the swords and then walking back all the way to the element room on top instead of teleporting. This caused issues because they were able to jump using the wind ability to the next location, so I just got rid of all of that completely. Now the player has to teleport back in order to get to the area, or they can walk all the way back, but there's no other alternate path to get back. Next task. As the player, I want to reach the exit faster so I don't have to waste time backtracking. That's where the checkpoint comes in. This is the checkpoint. I placed only one in the level so that the player can travel back easily. So if they're anywhere in the level, they can push X and travel back. The purpose of this was to save time to go back, and once they collect the collectible, they're back where they need to be so they can go to the next location. Next task would be, as the player, I want to see the correct material / texture so I can feel immersed. Each thing has its own material and texture. As you can see, as we've been going along, there's something for everything. Okay, so go up here to the other user stories. These have subtasks. First one is, as the player, I want to have shrines that display light so that I can see in the temple. So I have to add a point light to the shrine and place shrines in the level. Here's a shrine. This one has fire and light. It's lighting the whole room. We have lights in just about every room. Here we just have basic lights right here. Each room has its own different color of light. I put some red for the fire room. I have blue for the ice room here. Turn that off. There we go. And then over here in the wind room, go ahead and use my ability to get up there. There's purple. Ah! And then in the green, or the earth room, we have green lights.
Thank you.
I just use this as like a reminder of which element room they are in. See, here's green lights here. Next task. As the player, I want to experience more hazards in the earth room so I can feel challenged. Earth room, add more enemies. Earth room, create a room for the enemies. So for this, I did a whole redesign. Originally, it was just rocks to get through, and it wasn't really working. It was kind of boring, so I decided to add more hazards. So here it's saying danger cave ahead. You have to use the earthquake ability in order to get through. And once we are through, there's going to be a cave ahead that shows the sword in the distance, but there's enemies around it. So we have to fight our way through. I placed one above, and then they come in pairs or singles to not make the player a little too overwhelmed. And then once we collect this, we go back. And next task is I'll skip this one for last, the cutscene one, so I can do a full run through. So the next one is, as the player, I want to see the door animate and make noise so I know it's opening. So this one is over in the fire room. which I've already opened. Oh no, I did not open this. I'm gonna go ahead and open it now. So the door is gonna open as soon as we finish the puzzle. The door in question is over here. It's that black door over there. Once we finish the puzzle, it's gonna open. And there it goes. Next task. As the player, I want to see final assets in the level so that I can feel immersed. Add in new assets, replace all placeholders. So every placeholder is replaced with assets. I've got shrines, some bricks on the floor, castle walls, got a little library over here, as well as back in the entrance we got stair railing. Back in the entrance here I've got couches set up, bookcases, and that's it for that. Next task we have the next one is the cutscene one, so I'm gonna go ahead and show this one off. As the player, I want to see cutscenes so that I can be guided to the correct location. I have create a cutscene for the castle, create a cutscene for the first rock, the swords, and the element rooms. So I'm gonna restart the level for this. So when we first come upon the castle, it displays a cutscene. And the purpose of this cutscene is to show the player the main castle portion, the main point of interest, as well as zooming into the rock. Once we zoom into that rock, it's showing the player that this is where you need to go, this is the correct area. So I'm going to go ahead and break it. Alright, next cutscene is going to be over here. Once we get closer, it's going to show the player that there is a sword collectible over here in this room. The player should go collect it after seeing that. Okay, the next cutscene. I'll go ahead and talk to him real quick. There we go.
Thank you.
Next cutscene is this point of interest, which is the element room. This is where each door is for the player. Once we get there, it's going to pan a circle showing each door. We'll start with the fire room. Oops, did not mean to do that. And once I complete the puzzle here, there's a shrine over there that it's going to show that there's a sword there once we complete the puzzle. And once I complete it, I'm going to walk over there and grab it. Okay, once I have it, I'm going to go ahead and return to the area here. I'm not sure if I got that checkpoint, so I'm going to just walk back. Oops. Okay. Next cutscene is over in the Earth Realm.
Thank you.
So I did this one to zoom past through the enemies into the sword, which kind of gives an idea of how many enemies there are for the player to kill before getting it. Okay, I'm gonna go back here. Next room is the ice room. We'll go ahead and show the cutscene for this room.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And there's the other cutscene. So once we hit all those targets, the sword spawned in the shrine, and we just go collect it and then return. Next one is the wind room. This is the last cutscene. So when we go up to here, the purpose of the cutscene is to show how tall the tower is and where the reward is for the player. Player is going to have to climb this tower and collect the sword. I put a platform on the bottom here to show the player this is a good place to start. Whoa! I lost my patience there. Try it one more time. And those are all of the cutscenes I have, which means all of my tasks are completed. I'm going to go ahead and collect the final sword just to finish up my level. And we have found all the swords. Let's go back to the Earth Lord so we can get out of here. Alright, so with all the swords collected, we're gonna go back. Talk to him. You have found all 5 swords. You have shown me you are worthy. I will grant you passage. The gate to the left is now open. Farewell, hero. And that is the end of my level. The level ends with the gate open and the player being able to leave the level and go back to the main hub world. Thank you so much for watching.
And the Earth Spirit has a visual effect and sound effect when you use. It has a visual effect when it hits enemies, and has a visual effect and sound effect when it hits the pillars. It plays a different sound when it hits them. The wind spirit has a visual effect and sound effect when used, and it starts to blink when it's about to run out. That's where it was starting to like turn on and off when I was about to run out. And the secondary wind ability has a visual effect and sound effect when it hits an enemy. I can go to the final boss here to show that off. Because it's unlocked here. And this is the secondary wind attack.
Thank you.
So now that he's down, I can hit him, and this is the sound it makes. And my next task is, as the player, I want to have icons for which element I am picking, so I know what it does. So the normal spirit has a circle. Oh, well, the normal spirit has a logo. The fire spirit has a logo. The ice spirit has a logo. The earth spirit has a logo, and the wind spirit has a logo. And then the previous spirit circle changes its logo to the previous element. So if I resume in the top left, so the normal spirit has a logo there, fire spirit has one, ice attack has one, the earth attack has one, and the wind has one. And if I switch elements, the logo switches with what element it is representing. And my last two tasks is, as the player, I want a level where I can fight the final boss, so I can use all the unlocked abilities on them. When the player asks for help from the spirit, it tells them how to activate the water area. There's a checkpoint at the end of the hallway. The boss regains health in its current phase. If the player dies, the fire attack does less damage to the boss. The health items in the level work properly, and the place order objects and materials have been replaced. And the other task is, as the player, I want the last part of the final boss fight to work properly, so I feel rewarded for defeating them. The win area is spawned properly under the final boss during the boss's last phase. The wind slice attack moves to in front and behind of the player. The earth attack glows. The earth pillar glows the color needed without needing an earth element equip, and the player cannot push the final boss enemy by walking into them anymore. So I'll show off the whole boss fight to show off these. Real quick, I can show off what happens when I die. So he got all his health back. Okay. So this fire attack here used to do a lot more damage. Now it does a lot less. It used to almost instantly kill the boss. Here's a health item, and it gives me some of the health back. Okay, so there seems to be a problem where it's not checking for if the player can be hit, that'll need to be fixed.
Thank you.
So now that I'm at the earth phase, I can show off the earth pillar. Nope, that's the wrong attack. So this is the earth pillar. I don't have the earth equipped, but it's starting to glow green. The other ones are, I cannot push them by walking into them in the one slice. When I get that, I can show that off. So the checkpoint, so I just died. I respawn here at this checkpoint just to show that off. Yeah, the health items work. The fire attack does less damage. The checkpoint is in. And I can show off the water area once I get to the last phase as well. So now I'm in the wind phase. So these are the wind slices. They're behind me, and if I start going this way, it tries to go in front of me. And now I'm in last phase. That's the water area there. It's now properly on them. It used to be like a big square in front of them. And once I go in it, I will be able to defeat the boss. Also, the spirit help at the bottom is telling me what to do. Here it says, I have a crazy idea. Enter the storm. It tells you to enter the storm to defeat him. And when you go in, the overlord is defeated. And then the game is completed. Thank you.